How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Make sure I speak to everyone. Make sure I speak to everyone. My mic's acting a little funny, so hold one second. Acting a little funny, so hold 1 second. Is that better? Okay. Here we go. All right. Piece of T-Mass. Hey, everybody go on Instagram and subscribe to my man Thoughts Men Aren't Supposed to Think. He always showing me love on Instagram, and I'm going to show it right back to him. Let's see. Peace to Shell Patron. Peace to Brenton Knight. How y'all doing? C Laws. Teddy P. Nah, it ain't the real Teddy P. How you doing, Teddy P? Tamar G. Lady K. DMV Nitro. Okay, we got DMV in the house. How you doing? Also, too, if everybody would type in where y'all from, I want to see where everybody from, so I can see who's representing it in the live chat right now. K Russ, how you doing? I've been Daywood. I think that's correct. How you doing, Mark Miles? Sorry if I killed that pronunciation. I'm sorry about that. All right, we got Maryland in the house. We got George. How you doing, George? Got Jersey in the house. Got DC in the house. Okay, DMV in here heavy. All right, Philly, Newark, Detroit, VA. Got another VA. All right. So we're gonna get started here in about let's give everybody about another 3 minutes. We'll get started at 9:10. I'm not gonna hold y'all too long, but we got a very interesting topic here to cover here. Okay, West Baltimore, New York, New Jersey. Got Queens in the house, Cali in the house, Orlando, Florida. Make sure I didn't. Peace, Greg Frog, HR. Oh, what's up, HR? How you doing? George. Make sure I didn't miss nobody. Carlito Way. How you doing, brother or sister? I think that should be a brother, Carlito Way. All right. Couple more minutes. We're gonna get going here. I guess we can go and cover what the topic is going to be about. I mean, as the title stated, we're going to talk about destroying the black family and how we had a systematic approach to how the black family is trying to be destroyed ever since actually Reconstruction. Thank you, Lady K. Thank you. But yeah, we're going to talk. And this is going to be a multi-part video series, and we're going to talk about the planned events to destabilize the black family structure. So in part one, we're going to cover the effects and practices of the welfare and public housing on the black family. I got a nice video here, and the video is titled "Elders Explain How the Welfare System Forced the Black Father Out of Their Households." And you can catch the whole video at Serge the Prince channel. The Serge is SERG, the letter D Prince. Y'all go check his channel out and make sure I give props to where I get my sources from. Okay, Pharaoh Dinero, how you doing? Peace. All right, I think we're about to get started here. So what I have here is I about 9 clips that we're gonna go through. I'm gonna play the clips, and then I'm gonna chime in on observations I made, and then we'll go through a few questions. Is my mic sounding good? Too loud? Too low? Y'all let me know on the chat, because this is a new mic, so I want to make sure it's sounding good. All right, so we're gonna get into this first clip, and in this first clip we have Miss Joyce Ladner, and she's a trained sociologist from Washington University, and I'm gonna let her explain to you what she has to say. All right, here we go.
My relationship with Pruittigoe was that of a research assistant. I went to Washington University. I went to graduate school in 1964. I was working on a National Institute of Mental Health funded study on social problems in public housing. My role was to study women and girls in Pruittigoe. I was 20 years old. I just gotten out of college. Some of the girls were 18 years old. Some of the girls were 18 years old. But yet I was 2 years older. But yet my life was vastly different. As time passed, I did wonder. Would my life have been similar to that of the girls had my parents migrated from Mississippi to St. Louis? Would my opportunities have been different? I guess to put it bluntly, I never saw that different from the lives of poor people I had grown up with poor people in Mississippi, except for one thing, except for one strong, tightly knit communities and families had begun to shatter around the people who were displaced around the people northern city with few supports. And the policy and the housing authority policy and the poorest of the poor, the most dependent families, to Pruittigoe.
All right, so I muted my mic. If there was a problem with the feedback, y'all let me know, because I muted my mic. I'm not sure why. This is my first time using video on this program. Do I need to run the video back? Y'all let me know. It's a short clip, so I don't mind. I want to make sure everybody took in what she said. Okay, she said run it back. Bad audio. Let's see here. I'm gonna give it another test. I'm gonna give it a little bit more volume. Is the volume too low? Is echoey, boomy on the video? Can't hear it clear. Run it back. All right. Let's see here. I'm gonna cut the mic off and I'm gonna run it back. All right, here we go.
My relationship with Pruittigoe was that of a research assistant. I went to Washington University. I went to graduate school in 1964. I was working on a National Institute of Mental Health funded study on social problems in public housing. My role was to study women and girls in Pruittigoe. I was 20 years old. I just gotten out of college. Some of the girls were 18 years old. Some of the girls were 2 years old. But yet I was 2 years older. Vastly different. Yet my life was vastly different. As time passed, I did wonder. My life had been similar to that of the girls. Had my parents migrated from Mississippi to St. Louis. Would my opportunities have been different? I guess to put it bluntly, I never saw the people in Pruittigoe from the lives of poor people I had grown up with in Mississippi, except for one thing, except for one strong, tightly knit communities and families in which I grew up community had begun to shatter around the people who were displaced around the northern city, displaced in a northern city with few supports. And the policy and the housing authority was to move the poorest of the poor, the most dependent families, to Pruittigoe, the most dependent families to Pruittigoe.
Sorry about that, everybody. I did a check on it earlier, and we weren't having these problems. Maybe it's too loud. Is it too loud? Y'all let me know in the chat. Is it too loud or just echoey? Let's see here. Is it loud? Is it too loud? Yeah, I'm not understanding what's going on here. Echoey. Hey, y'all give me like 2 minutes and I'm gonna see what's going on here. I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on because the audio is very important. If not, we just go. I can go over my notes. I mean, we always got a backup plan. So where's the echo coming from? Echo, echo. Oh, let's see here. You know what? 1 second. I think I got it figured out. All right, we're gonna try this one more time. All right, one more time. I think I got it figured out. Y'all let me know if the echo goes or not.
My relationship with Pruittigoe was that of a research assistant. I went to Washington University to graduate school in 1964. I was working on a National Institute of Mental Health funded study on social problems in public housing. My role was to study women and girls in Pruittigoe. I was 20 years old. I'd just gotten out of college. Some of the girls were 18 years old, and I was 2 years older, but yet my life was vastly different. As time passed, I did wonder, would my life have been similar to that of the girls had my parents migrated from Mississippi to St. Louis? Would my opportunities have been different? I guess to put it bluntly, I never saw the people in Pruittigoe as that different from the lives of poor people I had grown up with in Mississippi, except for one thing: the strong, tightly knit communities and families in which I grew up had begun to shatter around the people who were displaced in a northern city with few supports. And the policy and the housing authority was to move the poorest of the poor, the most dependent families, to Pruittigoe.
All right, I appreciate y'all bearing with me. All right, so as I said before, she was working on a funded study to investigate the social problems in public housing. And let me give you a little history on the government's role in public housing. Prior to 1930s, it was left up to the local government mostly, and mostly the county was responsible for providing the needed shelter for people in need. During those times, the benefits were mostly exclusively for white folks. I mean, as to be expected in 1937. But in 1937, the federal government became officially involved in public housing under the United States Housing Act. All right, so in The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of Our Government Segregated America, Richard Rothstein, who was a research associate for the Economic Policy Institute, he was working on changing the thought that the state of racial organization in American cities was actually just due to individual racisms. That was false. And he said from the first public segregated public housing projects of Franklin D. Roosevelt to the 1949 Housing Act that encouraged white movement to the suburbs, to unconstitutional racial zoning ordinance enacted by city governments, Rothstein substantiated that the argument that the current state of American cities is the direct result of unconstitutional state-sanctioned racial discrimination. So we can see here that racial discrimination is systematic, as we all know. And in the next clip, we're going to see how the system drove the black father out of the home. So I'm going to get into this next clip, and then we're going to see where it goes from here.
Before we moved into Pruittigoe, the welfare department came to our home. They talked with my mother about moving into the housing project, but the stipulation was that my father could not be with us. They would put us into the housing project only if he left the state. My mother and father discussed it, and they decided that it was best for the 12 children for the father to leave the home. And that's how we got into the projects.
So before we continue on, I want to make one point that I missed about the last clip. If you notice, the lady said that her life growing up was no different from the people that had moved out and had migrated. And, you know, my thesis of this whole point is how the Great Migration ruined the family structure by moving families out of their close-knit families and the lifestyles they knew, and taking them into cities like New York, Detroit, Chicago, you know, and California. And we're gonna have the video. This video is, like I said, is the first of a series, and we're gonna go over basically every systematic approach that the government has taken to destroy the black family. And as the lady said here, not only the father didn't have to move out of the house, he had to move out of the state. So that's crazy that, you know, they would have him move out of the state. So how would you take care of your household if you were removed not only from the home or the state to take care of your children? So let me just go back. Does anybody have any questions? Let me go back and just see. Also, too, to ask questions is best if you add Moe Factz, and I can catch it a lot easier. Let's see. No questions? And as you know, I've been making this point. I made this point on Star Report a long time ago, and this only validates my point that the man was systematically removed from the home. And I want to say this: this is not a Bible channel, but, you know, as you all know, or some of you may know, that I'm very my belief system is very important to me. And I want to bring up one point that the Bible states. It says in Matthew 12:29, it says, talking about how you could take over a man's home. It says, or else how you can one enter into a strong man's home and spoil his goods, except he first you bind the strong man. So basically, the government knew what they were doing by taking the man out of the home. If you notice that they took us out of the home by design, and that's why it was so important to them that they keep their household intact, because they understand the importance of family structure. So I mean, like, as you can see here, I mean, it's a well laid plan, and as I keep going further, you're gonna see how this plan is laid out even further. So we're gonna jump into the next clip.
The welfare department had a rule that no able-bodied man could be in the house if a woman received aid for dependent children. If a man lost his job, he's looking for work, he still had to leave the home. And there was even a night staff of men who worked for the welfare department, whose job was to go to the homes of the welfare recipients, and they searched to find if there was a man in the home. Sometimes men came back at night to be with their families. Some were found in the closet hiding.
All right. So how much? So I mean, hold on, let me get the Black T's question. He said the Great Migration was terrorism, not government policy. Okay, so as this series goes on, you're gonna understand the Great Migration was the Hegelian. It was basically an example of the Hegelian dialectic. And what they did was they put pressure from the bottom and the top. They used terrorism, as I'm think Black T was referring to as the KKK, to drive black people out of their successful businesses and their successful cities, such as we all know, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, and many other cities, and drove them to the north. But what they did was they had a well laid plan to use the railroads and the sleeping car porters and black publications to publish that the North was less racist than the South, and that was completely false, as we can see here. And as we can see what the lady said, that they had just to get back on the topic here, they had search parties, basically, for lack of a better word, that would come through and look into people's homes and making sure the father wasn't there. And the thing is, I can vouch for this, and I can validate her claims because I saw it with my own eyes when I was living with my grandparents in low income apartments. The social workers would come and search the home of women receiving welfare, and I can remember seeing men run out of the back door to avoid being caught. And this was in the early 1980s. So, and like I said, this has been going on ever since maybe the 1940s, late 1940s, until now. Let me just catch up with some of the statements here. It says, how many states were on board with removing the father? A lady came, it became widespread that for women to receive any public assistance, they could have any man living in the home. I'm just going through the comments here. I don't want to go too fast. We're not in any rush here, so I mean, I'm not on my end. Okay, Splash Wave Beats. He said my father went through this as a kid in New York City. He told me all about it when I was growing up. And that's correct. I went through it as well. Not personally, but the fact, like I said, my grandparents lived in a low income housing when I stayed with them for a year while my parents went back to college. I saw this with my own eyes. I saw black men running out of the back door, half dressed sometimes to avoid being caught, and their woman losing their benefits and losing their house, your food stamps, and your check. Someone said the practice of no man in the house was outlawed in 1968. No, I have to double check that, but like I said, I saw this with my own eyes. Black T, if you could provide me a link, you can catch me on Twitter or either Instagram. I would like to see them saying what you say, if that's true. But like I said, even if it was maybe outlawed, it was still instituted that man couldn't be in the house. All right, so I'm just going through my notes here to make sure that makes. I don't want to go in too fast to make sure I'm missing any points. Also, too, like I said before, I just want to show you an example of how they use black publications to say that the South was more racist than the North, which we later that we know in hindsight was not, because people met racism when they went to cities like Chicago. And for example, we all know the story of Emmett Till and what happened in the South, right? We know how he was savagely killed, and it was well publicized. But one of the things people don't know is about the Chicago race riots in 1919. And that began by the death of a teenager who was stoned, a black teenager who was stoned to death on a racially segregated beach in Chicago. But they kept this tightly under wraps because they wanted black people to move into these cities. And I'll explain this more as we go on. But let's go to the next video clip.
I remember vividly my mother telling us, if white people come to the house and ask you guys questions, tell them that your father is not here. Tell them that your father has never been here. You have not seen your father. I trusted her. I knew that there was a reason that we had to do this charade, and I participated in the charade. I sat there and looked those people in the eye and told them with pure earnestness that no, I have not seen my father, and no, my daddy does not live here. And but I knew that I was lying, and that made me wonder, who are these people and how they have the power to make my mother lie?
All right, so you can see with this brother right here, you can see that. Let me see, make sure. Hold on, before I get into my spiel, let me make sure I'm not missing any questions. Hi, the Most High. Let me just make sure I spoke to everybody. Hi, Pistol Pete. Make sure I didn't miss you. What's up, Splash Wave Beats? What's up, Breezy? Make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, so from this man's statement, you can see what he said. You can see that him having to lie at an early age to white folks, and him wondering how they had the power to make his mother lie. And then also the people had the power to make his father run and hide. This was definitely how they reinstilled the inferiority complex in these children at an early age. And let's be very clear, this was not by accident. Like I said before, let's go back to what I said before about Richard Rothstein. He said that in his book, The Color of Law, these things were state sanctioned. This wasn't individually racism. All right, let me catch up here. Okay. HRH, she says Jersey City had a massacre of black immigrants via the Irish immigrants in a town controlled by Dutch and Hebrew families since it was founded in 1930s. Okay. What's up, Mike? You heard? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the chat. So yeah, like I said before, all this is systematic, and all this is state sanctioned racism. And this kind of feeds back into the first video of reparations. These are all things that the government should have to pay for, because they systematically destroyed our family. And like I said before, this is going to be a very deep diving. This is going to be a very deep diving series. Tonight we're just studying welfare and public housing and the effects on destroying the family. And the way that worked is just a little history. So the Great Migration started in, I believe, 1913, if my notes are correct, 1913. But what they had to do was use black publication like the Chicago Defender, and they distributed by through the sleeping car porters to convince black people to give up their land and all they had fought for in the South, to move to the North, to a place that was just as racist. And that's the only point I'm trying to make here. Okay, someone said here, removing the man out of the house is a Vatican tactic. Oh, well, we all know all roads lead to Rome. And if you're up on the Jesuits and, things of that nature. And like I said, this is going to be, this channel is going to get into what things people say about conspiracy theories. I call myself a conspiracy analyst, because I analyze I analog conspiracy theories and see how they fit into actual history. And then when you start seeing these things, you see how they line up. 1 second. So what they did was, it's okay. Let me see. BZ, he said, sounds a little crazy, but all the world problems linked to the Vatican and Jesuit. Yes, that's very true. And it's for those to understand. For those who understand, we understand that all the orders come from the Pope. The Pope is the modern day Pharaoh, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole tonight. But we will uncover that. Let's see here. HRH, she says they remove benefits if the mother were also, yeah, correct. So we're gonna get into that even more. Let's get into this next clip, and I'll come back to the comments and to my notes.
We're giving you money. We want to be able to control you. We're giving you money, so we have the right to make stipulations as to how you use it and what you use it for. There were so many restrictions. We couldn't have a telephone. We couldn't have a television.
All right, so as you can see here, this as this sister said, she said that, let me go and make sure I quote her correctly. She said they were forced to not have a telephone or a television. So what you have here is you have women and children in an isolated place with no phone or television, and you're away from your family and the lifestyle that you were once accustomed to in the South. And also, too, in a later video, I have a testimony from people that stated that there was no sense of community as well in these northern cities, and in these rundown houses and rundown neighborhoods. Also, too, as we all know, this is a very unhealthy environment, socially and even physically. We all know that housing projects were built with the cheapest materials, including lead pipes and lead paint. And as we've seen in the effects of lead in the water in Flint, Michigan, it has on the mental capabilities of children. So, and then they wonder why we perform so low on IQ tests overall when they keep us in these unhealthy environments. Also, I must say too that not having a father in the household makes a child very insecure. For myself, I never felt completely safe until I heard my dad come through the door. And then I knew I felt, truly protected. All right, so we want to recap here. So we have isolated, fatherless children living in unhealthy physical conditions. And then, like I said, they wonder why we perform low on standardized tests, and they wonder why we have such problems. Let me see how. Well, wait. You said in NYC the housing still has lead paint. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm going back up through the notes. Up through the comments. Okay, Pharaoh De Niro says because some conspiracies are true of you do a real deep dive. Okay, real deep dive. Okay, I got a real great guest I'm gonna have on my channel in the near future. I don't want to spoil it and say who it is, but I respect this gentleman on his knowledge of the esoteric of and its effects on us spiritually as a people. Right. Someone said, how can you think right if you eat that? Correct. And that's not even getting into the food that they're feeding us as well in these poor neighborhoods. All right, so we're going to get into the next clip here. How we looking on time? All right, we're 41 minutes in. I don't have anywhere to, I'm saying, I'm not in a rush tonight. Anybody got any questions? I don't want to move too fast. Do we have any questions? Just want to give a little time. But like I said before, it means it's a shame. How do you isolate? I mean, it's almost like sensory deprivation. Deprivation, excuse me. The way you isolate people. It said, okay, Black T, you said your links are being blocked. Okay, if you want to add me, okay, let me do this right now. Everybody, if you would add me on Twitter and or Instagram, it's Moe Factz the same way, MoeFactz. Add me there and just like send me links, you know what I'm saying, through those channels, and then I'll get back to you. Also, too, I always post a video prior to the live to let you know what the topic's going to be about. So if you have any information you would like to share on the topic prior to, just link it in the comments on the YouTube video. I'll read all the comments and I'll try to address all the questions that came up. Okay, Black, see, we're going to get in that too. But at a later date. Like I said, I want to stay on topic here on this video now, just talking about public housing and welfare and effects of how they divided us up. All right, so we're going to get into the next clip here.
In the project, it seemed to be strategically planned to create an environment that people felt isolated, that people felt restricted, that people felt, inhuman almost. You're bad. We have to restrain you. We have to curtail what you're doing. It was void of humanity. It was void of caring. It seemed more like a prison environment that you have to escape from.
All right, so that was a very powerful clip. All right, so let me go through the comments before I chime in on what was just said. Okay. Just Playing Shampoo said, there's a war for your body, your mind, and your soul, like the track. It's cheesy at this point, but if you can't read between that, having you think a certain way controls your body and your soul bonded, and have your soul bonded. I agree. And yes, this is a spiritual war. Like I said before, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities of evil. And like I said, I don't want to make this a Bible-based channel, but there are some things in the Word that our people struggle with today. And if you know who we are, then you understand why we struggle with this. It's part of the curse of Deuteronomy 28. Okay, Brenton Knight says, and the thing is, my screen is really small. That's why I'm having trouble reading the comments. But 1 second, it says, this is still happening. My homie can't even sleep in peace. Brenton, if you would like to expound on that, I would like to hear more about about your statement. Okay, it said they want, right? They want, yeah. Pharaoh dinero, yes, they want us dependent upon them. That's why they give us just enough to survive. Whenever you get something for free, you should always be suspect about it, because like, why are they trying to keep us this way? Why are they trying to keep us down? So let's just get to the last statement the brother said. This brother said that this environment, you were restricted and void of humanity. It's all right. So now imagine 3 or 4 generations living like this, and now you can see why going to prison is no big deal to young black males in today's society. Right now, we right, yeah. And hold on 1 second. HR, I don't require anybody to be anything to come to my channel, and I'm not here to persuade anybody to my belief system. It's just some things that we'll notice that the way we're being attacked is a spiritual attack. So like I said, I'm not here to persuade anybody to my belief system. But back to what this brother was saying, like you said, just imagine kids living in this kind of environment from the 1960s to now. That's like at least 3 or 4 generations living in this this hellhole. You know, it's void of any humanity. And then you wonder why they're going to prison to them is no big deal. I mean, you're living in confinement, you're living in restriction. Also, too, later in this series, we're going to uncover countering the conspiracies to destroy black boys. That's a very good book and video series, because it goes into detail about the all-out conspiracy to destroy young black males, and living in these poor conditions are part of that plan. So basically, they're being groomed from an early age to be institutionalized. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, so Brenton Knight says his girl is in public housing with his kids. Right. Right. I saw somebody else say that it was Section 8. Section 8 and public housing. I don't know if it's still on the books as no male in the household, but I'm pretty sure if you have a husband, you can't receive Section 8 of public housing. I'm pretty sure of that. All right, let me go through the comments. Pharaoh Dinero, he said, do you think it's too late for our community, or is it going to take generations to reverse their effects? I think it only takes 1 generation, Pharaoh Dinero, and that's the whole point. If I thought it was hopeless, I wouldn't be here right now, and that's the God honest truth. But it only takes for when men procreate, they need to procreate with women that's willing to have them in the home and act as their role as the father. So and my man T Mass, that's the thoughts men shouldn't think the thoughts men aren't supposed to think. Check him out on Instagram. He's always showing me love, so I'm gonna show it back. But he has something called GYS, and that's guard your seed, and that's what us men need to do. We need to protect our seed with all our life, and be selective about who we impregnate. And I know I'm going kind of off topic here, but I think this needs to be addressed right now, because this is a good question. I think this is how we correct our society, our community, in a huge way. It's not going to come from politics. It's not going to come from anything else. It's choosing a woman that allows you to be the father in the household, selecting that woman, procreating with that woman, and then you build a family together, because both you need men and women. You need a man and a woman to raise a child. That's why it takes a man and a woman to create a child. So if the men would be more selective about who they choose to give their seed to, then we could turn this problem around in a very short amount of time. Being almost one generation. All right, let me keep going. Okay, Tamar G says, you're speaking truth to power. Yes. I mean, I speak the truth. I mean, I'm going to speak the truth because I think if you lie, and this is kind of off the topic too, but I think if you lie and you start believing your own lies, I think that's how mental illness sets in because you start creating a dual reality. So, I always try to be truthful, respectful, but always truthful. All right, HRH, please forgive me. It says it's a great point of view, your spirituality. Not one issue for me. Right. And like I said, we can all be respectful of each other's beliefs, but long as we believe that, I always believe that, like the golden rule says, do unto others as you will have them do unto you. If we all live like that, then everything else will fall into line. Okay, let me go down. Still going down. You said not short. Like I said, if every black man or so-called black man, because we talked about that last time, that I'm aware that black is a corporate designation, but just for the sake of argument, I'm going to use the term black. If every black man was to be the head of his household, then his sons would know, and then his sons would choose women that would be mothers and allow him to be the father. So I think it would take a very short amount of time. I mean, on the scope of humanity, and we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands upon years of human existence. It'll take a short amount of time. Okay, Black T. It says, he says, I feel Moe Factz is about to hit us with a religious ideology. No, like I said, I'm not here to beat you over the head with my religion because I like I said, that word religion, I don't even like that word. It's a faith. I have a faith, not a religion. And it's not my job here to come here and tell you what you should think or what you should believe in. But on this channel, I will weave in some of my beliefs to show you how the system, let's believe, they are waging a spiritual war on us. They understand this. That's why they poison our souls with music, with this toxic music, with these toxic images, and all these other things, because they know if they can affect you in the mind, then they control your body. Like when people say, like when people go to prison say, they became free when they got locked up because all they had left was their mind, and they expanded their mind. So if they know they can attack our mind, then the battle is won. If they can fight the war in our mind, then they know they can win the battle because we're unexpecting that's how they're playing. All right, so Pharaoh Denaro says facts. It makes life easier for the child when both parents are strong caregivers in the role model, so they won't have to go in the wrong place looking for role models. That's correct. Like right now, but most of our children look to entertainers, athletes, pop stars, all the wrong people to be role models. When really your role model should be your mother and your father. Because if you're a female child and you want to be like your mother and you want to find a man like your father, and vice versa for boys. You want to be like your father and find a woman like your mother. Okay, I'm just reading through the comments. Okay, Tim TV. Yes, I'm gonna keep working hard. I appreciate that. Oh, yeah, Just Plan Shampoo. They get us all. They get us all. Like I said, this system, it spends billions and billions of dollars on how to impact our souls. They got every genre of music. They got every shade of woman to distract men. They got every shade of man to distract women. Yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, this is a well laid plan. I mean, just look at the food. I mean, you'd be amazed how many millions of dollars goes into designing junk food for it to fire off our brain signals in the way it does. I mean, not to get off on a tangent here, but yeah, this is a well laid plan, and they set traps everywhere. Okay, Splashwave Beats. He says, "Do you think that a father who was raised in a single mother dysfunctional household that's insecure just as useless when he starts raising a family in his house?" I won't say anybody useless. I mean, like I said, a lot of our men are raised in single parent households, but when you become a man, you're responsible for how your life turns out. Yeah, we might not have the best, start, best beginning, but once you become an age and you become where you can think and grow for yourself, it's your responsibility to be better. I mean, it's my responsibility to be better. And I had two parents in the household, but once I left, I mean, it's some things that I wasn't taught, and but I had to learn. I had to learn on my own. Cause like I said, just because you have two parents in the household doesn't mean that the man is being the man either. Let's be clear on that. Cause there's a lot of henpecked men that are in two parent households. All right, I'm still reading through the comments. Okay, Pistol Pete says today's Section 8 candidates can be both parents that incomes are limited as keeping one parent unemployed. Yes, correct. Correct. And I don't know too many situations where both parents are in the household for Section 8, but I think it is possible. All right, Francis. Francis says, "Hey Mo, I know you are being. I know you by being on Star Show. Keep doing your thing, King." All right, thank you very much, Francis. I'm gonna keep. Hey, like I said, I feel the responsibility, and you wonder why I started this channel. Like I said before, I started by calling in on Mo on Star Show, and that's how I got started in this whole situation. But also too, I was listening to this one YouTuber, and he said, "Don't be a talker, be a doer." So if I can't sit back and complain about our community if I'm not doing anything to change it, and maybe my words can change how one man thinks, and if that happens, like, my actions will work well served. Reading through. All right, so Black T said, "What does it mean for a man to be the head of the household?" All right, so to be the head of the household, that's being the protector of your woman and your children, being the provider for your woman and children, being responsible for making the decisions, and being accountable if those decisions go wrong. That's how I see being the head of the household. You're being someone that your woman can lean on, someone that your children can come to for shelter and protection. So I mean that's my answer to your question, Black T. All right, so let me go into this next clip. All right, I don't want to hold you guys too long.
They were treated in some ways like they were prisoners. If we are going to support you and to give you a few measly dollars to live on, then we're going to extract blood from you. You're going to live according to the rules we set. And the rules just happen to be very punitive. There was this whole undertone of morality, that they had poor morality, that they were immoral by virtue of the lifestyles they led. Poverty never created immorality. Poverty created want.
All right, so basically we sold our children back into captivity for sustenance. And one thing I want to say is, in all fairness to these people, They couldn't see that they were walking right back into the mouth of the beast. As the sister stated, it says, if we are going to support you to give you a few measly dollars to live on, then we're going to extract blood from you. That's what she said. And I found that to be a very heavy statement and a true statement on the esoteric level. I'm one of those people that see on the esoteric level as well. And like I said, again, I may lose some of you, but this society is set up on the worship of Baal. That's B-A-L-L. That's B-A-A-L. Excuse me, Baal. And I plan to flesh that out, and like I said, in the interview that I have coming up. Like I said, I know some of y'all rolling your eyes right now, but that's okay. It's all right. The evidence is right in front of your faces. And the ruling elite of this world believe it very deeply. Best believe. The ruling elite believe in this satanic system more than you ever know. So let's not get it confused. What they did was they took a deeply religious group of people from the South, a group of people that some people would call the chosen people, and deliberately led them into a lifestyle of immorality and depravity. Esoteric. Let me get some water here. But like I said, I mean, if you just look at this system, and just as some anecdotal evidence, you have an email. If you guys were into the whole WikiLeaks thing and of that nature, they had an email from Hillary Clinton, and she said in her email that she was going to go back and sacrifice a chicken in the backyard to Moloch. So, like I said, I say these things. I say these things to say that this is what these people that rule this world believe in. But I want to. Hold on 1 second. Someone says, Mo, I say this respectfully. Baal and all the other goetic demons are not satanic the way people say. Study occult science and you will see that it goes all the way, that it all goes hand in hand with the esoteric knowledge. I respectfully disagree, but we're not gonna argue that point. Let's see. Yes, the cities offer more vices for people, especially and for lower classes. Yes, and we saw that with the story of the prodigal son. Pharaoh De Niro. That's a very good point. Yes, I look at New York City. What do they call it? The city that never sleeps. So those vices are always there. Just playing shampoo. It says vices, more like distractions from revolting or doing something out of the box. That's true too. That's a fair assessment on just playing shampoo. All right, so we're gonna go to the next clip.
They were treated in some ways like they were prisoners. If we are going to support you and to give you a few measly dollars to live on, then we're going to extract blood from you. You're going to live according to the rules we set. And the rules just happen to be very punitive. There was this whole undertone of morality. They had poor morality, that they were immoral by virtue of the lifestyles they led. Poverty never created immorality. Poverty created want.
So I want to make sure. Did I just play the same clip twice? All right. So HRH says Bilal and Moloch are the former kings of Ethiopia and ancestors to the to King Solomon, who learned from their writings and teachings. It was removed by the Catholic Church from Torah. I don't I don't know about that one. Like I said, we'll agree to disagree. All right, so I'm gonna go on to the next clip because we got like 25 minutes left. So I want to make sure I get to everybody's questions as well.
When we first moved in the projects, we couldn't have a television.
Here it is.
And then my mother got a letter that we could have a TV.
Barbie's dream house is a wish come true for both of you. And look.
I was always interested in the family programs. Programs with fathers. My Little Margie, where the father was so involved with his daughter.
Margie!
Come on in, Dad.
Margie, you know I've always tried to be both mother and father to you.
You've been wonderful, Dad.
Do you remember that little game we always play when you have a problem that you can't tell your father?
But I haven't got any problems.
Now come, tell me what's wrong.
When I looked at those sitcoms, I just felt like this is the way white people lived. Because black people, from my experience, did not live that way. And I never questioned, I never wondered why. I just figured this is how it is.
All right, so just playing shampoo picked up on it exactly. He says now you can have TV since we want to program you. Very accurate, sir. Very accurate. They allow the television to pump in, and as we all know, it's television to pump in propaganda to further instill the inferiority complex with the children. So you have the black children will only see the white men as fathers and feel less than. We even hear it now. If you're into the conscious black YouTube community, you can hear how people say, "Oh, you love white daddy." I mean that thing is still going on now. It says, "Where do you like I said, where do you think these ideas come from? The gender war, the race war, and the generational war. These are ideas were deeply rooted many generations ago." Men, okay. All right, so men, if these women never see a black man function in the home, how can they understand what your role is supposed to be? I ask you that respectfully. And women, if you don't allow a man to rule over his home, and you rather receive a check instead, how do you think the children will receive order and discipline? Like I said before, a child takes two parents to make and two parents to raise. I'm gonna keep saying this redundantly. A child receives love and nurturing from the mother, and order and discipline from the father, and the two energies balance each other out. So let me catch back up. All right, so HRH, she says the Catholic Church still owns the Bible. Like I said, anything that you guys want to share with me when you make these statements, just send it to me on Twitter, in the direct messages, and I'm like I said, I'll review all information, but I don't think that to be so. Also, too, I challenge anybody, since we want to make this a spiritual conversation. Take a Bible, any Bible with the red writing for when Jesus speaks. And find fault with anything in the red. Everybody else in the Bible were flawed men, flawed. But find fault with the red writing. And that's all I'm gonna say about that statement. Let me read through. It says welfare was not designed for blacks. When it was designed, they thought it wouldn't last because having a job was better than being on welfare. They didn't anticipate blacks being on welfare. Yes and no. And also, too, a lot of black people early on would not receive welfare. It was only about the 70s where welfare became acceptable. And I have a series, I have a video in this series that talks about that even the women on welfare in the early 80s said that welfare made them lazy. Yes. Okay. Population control. Population control is going to be a main thesis on this channel. Yes. Just playing shampoo. Yes. Welfare was brought in by the New Deal. Also, too, what a lot of people don't understand is with welfare also comes birth control. And what it was a way of eugenics. Eugenics had no race. They felt that, they did target black people with eugenics, but it was not only racially based. It was based on intelligence. It was based on mental health. So yes, welfare and birth control went hand in hand. And just not to get on a tangent, but I want to let everybody know there has a thing coming called the universal wage. And so what this is going to be is eventually, we all know, due to automation, jobs are going to become fewer and fewer. And with that said, they're going to start offering people what they call a universal, I think it's called universal living income, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going off the top of the head here. And what it does is says, okay, you can't afford to take care of yourself, so the state will take care of you. Well, they'll be willing, and it's been softly implemented through disability now, because there's a lot of people on disability that shouldn't even qualify for it. But what they're going to do is they're going to get used to people living on the state, and then they're going to say, well, if the state is taking care of you, you can't have children. That's going to be next. It's always the next thing. It's always, we'll give you something up front, then we wait a generation or two, and then the other shoe drops. That's how this system works. Because if they offer it to you with the caveat of, say, you can get this but you can't have children, people won't accept it. So it's always here's one thing, wait a little while, and here's the strings attached, or here's the fine print. Let me go back and read through. All right, Beezy says, just like the Nation of Islam, the KKK, the Black Panthers, all funded by the CIA through proxy wars and drugs. Yes, that's true. That is very true. Yes. These groups, that's why I always say I don't associate myself with any group. I take some of the positive things they bring to the table. Like the Nation of Islam had to give them credit for their order, for their respectability, how they carry themselves, the great dress, how they treat each other, how they treat fellow brothers. But then they're also there's always like they said, like a pea in the mattress. You know, if you know the story of that story, that where it's always something there. Also, too, I think Black T asked about the NOI and the Panthers. If you just look at the Panthers were a very communist group. And also, too, there was two sets of Panthers. You had the original Panthers, and then you had, the second wave of Panthers. So, but I'm not gonna go down that road tonight. But I'm saying, yes, always be leery of these groups, because you got to ask yourself, why would a system of oppression give their television time and airspace to groups that's trying to oppose them? I'm going to say that one more time. Why would a system of oppression give television time to groups that's trying to overthrow them? It makes no sense. So you always have to be leery of these groups that they bring to the light, because the real groups that really doing grassroots that's really doing grassroots work, they won't give them the television time. All right, so we're gonna get into this last clip, and then we're gonna go over some final questions. All right, here we go.
We have our home here, and if the colored move in and run real estate values down, it's bound to create tension. And you will have, well, I think their aim is mixed marriages and becoming equal with the whites.
Well, I just could not live beside them. I don't feel that they should be oppressed. But I moved here, one of the main reasons was because it was a white community. And that's the only place I intend to live.
All right, so what we saw here is the voices of white people that were living in the communities that the black people were moving into when they moved to the North. And so this is what I want to say again about the Hegelian dialectic, that it's pressure from above and pressure from below. So what they did was they took black people and ran them out of off their home, off their land, by using groups like the KKK, and they forced them into the North and moved them into close quarters with white people that didn't want to have anything to do with them. So what I want to say again is this: you have to pay attention and see that this was not all a thing of chance. The Great Migration, and I'm going to cover this in later videos, was a well-laid plan. And I want to go down this timeline to you. So in 1915, you have a resurgence of the KKK, and with lynchings at an all-time high. Then in 1916 is when the first wave of black migrants started the Great Migration out of the South into cities. And lo and behold, in April 1917, you had the United States' first intervention in World War I. So I know you were saying, how does that all fit together? Let me lay it out to you like this. They knew that they were going to have a world war. And they knew a lot of the white men were going to go out to fight this war. And they needed black people in the North to replace those white men in those factories building those war machines. So what they did was they forced us out of the South through the KKK. And if you understand Albert Pike and who the KKK was, these were all men of the Masonic order. Go back and we'll cover these people. Like I said, I'm throwing some names out there tonight that some of you may not be familiar with. But when you go back and look at Albert Pike and see how he set up the KKK, and it being a Masonic order, they drove those black people out of the South because they needed them in the North to backfill the white jobs of the white men that went off to go fight in World War I. And as you see, as we're going to cover later on too, there was a lot of tension when the white men came back from the war, and found their jobs had been taken by black men. And that caused a lot of tension in the North. So like I said, this is all by design. And just to go over some numbers, between 1910 and 1920, the black population in large cities grew substantially. In New York, it grew by 66%. In Chicago, it grew by 148%. In Philadelphia, it grew by 500%. And in Detroit, it grew by 611%. So, as we can see here, this is a well-laid plan, and we're going to continue in this more. The next videos are going to go into the inner workings of the Great Migration, but in this video, we just saw the results of the Great Migration, of people being forced in the North, and then they went from being forced in the North to being led into projects, the man being held out of the household, and then some of these cities are still reeling from the effects of this to this day. But like I said, this is only part one. I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties. Like I said, this is my first time working with YouTube and some of this software. So there are going to be some hiccups. You guys are going to see me growing. So like I said, I apologize for that. But with that said, I want everybody to ask any questions. I want to go back and go through the questions. Make sure I looks like I missed a lot. Okay, so BZ, okay. He says, and the higher ups in the Black Panthers were well connected to the CIA. That's how Tupac's mother got off that sentence. BZ, you going there tonight? I see where you going. Yes. Also, too, not only was the Black Panthers, we're talking about all the people in Woodstock, all the rockers of that era. They came out of I think it was called, I'm going off memory here, Laurel Canyon. You talk about the Byrds, the Beach Boys. All these people had parents that were part of the military industrial complex. I think it was Huey P. Newton had ties to Jim Jones, the one that let all the people down and drunk the Kool-Aid, the big time preacher. Man, if you understand mind control, if you understand the MK Ultra project, you'll understand a lot of things that I'm talking about, and also what BZ is talking about. Let me see. Just reading through the comments here. Okay, it says, I don't know if you're about the facts. You made me more interested in pushing your own religious ideology. Black T, I stated before, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm speaking of truth from my perspective. If you believe different from me, I respect that. I mean, I'm not trying to convince you of anything, but this is the truth from my perspective. And also too, when we start to dig into these into the records, everything I said can be proven. Just like this video, I made this video to prove a lot of the statements I said on Star Show about the black family and how the man was forced out of the household. And like I said, this video, I use this video specifically because these came out of the people's mouths directly that were affected by this. All right, still reading through. I gotta get some glasses too. Okay, I'm just playing. Shampoo says, Moe Factz, people get uh, mad about mentioning the Most High, but the system just takes the Most High's laws and pervert and flip them. Right. And like I said, if my truth offends you, maybe this is not the channel for you. I mean, like I said, I respect you coming, stopping by. If you can provide me information and facts counter to what I'm stating here, I'm open to it. I'm always open to learn. But I'm not gonna change what I know and what I've read on countless. I'm gonna say on countless occasions. To get a few more likes. So that's not what I'm about, and it's what this channel is about. Like I said, this is my perspective. Oh, what's up? Soul Cream Productions. What's up? How you doing? Let's see. To spy to be right. All right. Just playing. Shampoo says creating false idols to worship. American Idol. Yeah. Right. And like I said, they don't hide these things. If you just look at the days of the week, I challenge anybody. Go and look up the days of the week. Look at the names of the days of the week, and you'll understand what this culture is about. Okay. So like I said, if you have any questions, put at Moe Factz so I can pick them out. No, I'm not leaning to anybody. Like I said, if we agree, we agree. If like I said, if they did, I mean, I'll say it like this. Over my lifetime, I went down every path that tried to lead to black righteousness. I went down all the paths. I went down the Islam, the 5%ers. I went down the commission. What else? All of them. And like I said, that's why I don't even call myself a Christian, because even the Catholic Church, even they too. No, they're not Greek. Go look them up. No. Like I said, I went down them all, and yeah, I don't call them trolls. I mean, it's people that have counter beliefs to mine. That's fine. That's why I don't have any moderators. I'm not blocking anybody. As long as you be respectful, everybody can come here. You know what I'm saying? Have their say. And that's the thing we have to do in our community. There's going to be people of all shades and all beliefs. You know, you can't browbeat somebody into believing whatever. The way I say it like this is, if you live a righteous life, people are going to ask you, how are you doing that? What's your secret? So, I mean, like I said, I'm not one of those people that are going to stand on corners and shout people down and those kind of things. But yeah, I'm not one of those people, and I'm not going to say, oh, you know, you're going to hell if you do this. I'm not one of those people either. That's not the point of this channel. Is I share my perspective on things. If you can agree with me, you agree. If you can't, if you don't agree, oh no, Black T, no, you're not a troll. I made that clear. You're not a troll. You just have a difference of opinion, and that's fine. We're all entitled to that. But yeah, like I said, but if you know something and you can prove it, you know, with facts, share it with me. I'm always open to learn. But there's some things that there are some things that I know that I know. So it'll be very hard to shake me because it's built off bedrock. We're coming up on the 10:30 hour. Anybody got any other questions, comments, suggestions, improvements I could do? Like I said, it was some technical difficulty right now. The sound kind of had me thrown off, but it's all right. You know, we're gonna see improvement over the life of the channel. Let's see. Any other questions? Give it a few more minutes. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. And what I want to do is, let's not only have the conversation here. Let's have the conversation on Instagram. Let's have the conversation on Twitter. We don't have. Let's have the conversation in the YouTube comments. Like I said, when this show gets uploaded to YouTube, Black T, please add links in the comments. I welcome you to. And anybody that wants to counter him, be respectful when you counter. My thing is here, let's all be respectful to everyone, even if they don't subscribe to the belief system that you do. Because at the end of the day, it's all faith to each and every one of us. And faith is a personal thing. And you can't force somebody to have faith. Yeah, Black T, send me a link to that report. And I'll read over it. But yeah, we're almost out of time. And like I said before, let me go through the comments on the pre-video comments. 1 second here, cause we did get started a little late, so I'll run a few minutes later. I'm just going to the video earlier where I posted. There are some questions. Let's see here. Okay, this is from Real Erica. She says, good song choice for the video earlier. Not only did Section 8 and the New World, New Age feminists, strong black women destroy the black family, I think she should touch on mass incarceration role and taking our men away from for obscene amounts of time. Yes, we're going to get into that too. We're going to get into mass incarceration later on in the series. This comes from Gary Stewart. It says, good morning, brother. How about we talk about education and the school system as well? Yeah, so I'm going to cover that when we talk about the conspiracy to destroy black boys. That's going to be a later video as well. Farrell De Niro, yeah, your question, you said, like I said, my brother, it starts with the family and building our family up because that's what every other racial group does. Yes, right. So that's what you build family build community, and communities build nations. So yes. Pistol Pete says, hopefully you include personal responsibility with systematic racism actions. Yes, and like I said, it's all about personal responsibility as well. Because at the end of the day, it's your personal, you know what I'm saying, you're responsible for your own actions. No matter, I mean, the trap may be set, but it's our responsibility not to go and get in the trap. Okay. I think it's SVM CEO. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it says the elites are practicing our ancient science and they know how potent it is. That's why they make You demonize it, so you stay away from it. Blood sacrifices are not really our thing. There's some truth in that statement. Yes, because if you know about Aleister Crowley, he went to Egypt. He went into the pyramids. He did a lot of studying and writing from the ancient Egyptian text. So that is partially true, but us as so-called black people, that is not our original belief system from my perspective. All right, so I'm about to get out of here, everyone. Like I said, it was fun. I'm glad everybody showed up tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And as I say always, if you pay attention to everything, the truth will reveal itself. All right, thank you for coming out. You know what I'm saying? Everybody have a good night. God bless.